Hello and welcome to the GCN Tech Show.
This week we've got lots, including a new Met aero helmet, a new Winspace aero bike, a Canyon concept bike, comments of the week, the bike vault, and if you're lucky, Conor's gubbins.
And our main talking point, which is that a mathematician has worked out a way to beat Tadej Pogačar.
So, we have a way to beat Pogačar with maths.
Well, it might be possible to beat Pogačar at maths, potentially, but with maths?
I mean, he's probably amazing. I don't know, he's probably amazing at maths as well, isn't he?
I mean, I suspect he is probably really good at maths as well, yeah. But go on, how on earth can maths beat Pogačar?
Well, I've been speaking to this guy called Professor Emeritus Michael Slawinski. Right?
Okay, sounds legit.
He's a professor of maths, okay? And he's written loads of papers over the years actually on cycling and modelling cycling using maths to optimise pacing and climbing speeds and also the hour record as well. So a lot of his sort of mathematical modelling and research was actually used to help Ganna and Bigham when they did the hour record and go faster. So
what did he do for them?
Maths. Just
but what maths?
All the maths.
I still feel a little bit like, so Filippo, I've worked out that you just need to put out more power.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of like...
Well, he's published papers on it, right?
Okay,
so
all right.
For further reading, you can check them out. Anyway, right. So he reckons that the riders in the pro peloton, the other riders, are missing a trick. And by using maths, he reckons they should be able to beat him. Okay? So... here's how it usually works, right? And at the weekend, Liège-Bastogne-Liège was a case in point. So we'll use that as an example. Pogačar typically attacks 30 to 50 kilometres from the finish, right? Usually on a climb, right? And he gets a gap over the top. Some riders try to follow, and they aren't as powerful, or perhaps they don't work as hard as him. And he just pulls that gap out and out and out and out till typically finishes over a minute ahead of them, and he wins again.
Yeah.
The end, right? So we're then at a situation, well, how on earth can riders less powerful than him beat him, right? Because he's clearly the most powerful. So the way that he's looked at this is simply how to optimise a cyclist travelling from point A to point B. What's the quickest, most efficient way to do that? And he's used like differential equations and computational modelling and all this sort of stuff, right? And the simple fact is that if you have, say, 5 riders working together and travelling at 50 kilometres an hour, then they can typically save around 25% of the energy. They can produce 25% less power on average than Pogačar and catch him. Okay, if it's 2 riders, then that falls down to roughly sort of 15%.
Okay.
So he reckons that if Pogačar had a 30-second lead over the top of Laredoute, then a group of riders behind him would only have to average 1 kilometre an hour faster to catch him within that 30 kilometres.
I mean, on paper, that's not wrong, but it's a bit of an oversimplification, wouldn't you say, in many respects? So, Professor Michael, no disrespect, but I mean, let's look at the average power thing for an example. So yes, as a group, you average less power than Pogačar, but in order to catch Pogačar, every rider, when they do their turn on the front, has to be putting out more power than him, right? So let's say Pogačar's doing 400 watts, so to catch him, you then need to do 430 when you're on the front. Now, that's fine on paper, but I'd argue after 240 kilometres of Liège-Bastogne-Liège, having to come through and do 430 watt turns, like that's not an easy thing to do. So it's not a case of you save loads of power, you still have to be able to produce those spikes, right? Yep. So if you're fatigued, if you've been dropped, there might be a reason for that. Secondly, the parkour isn't completely flat either. So on a climb, the drafting effect is less.
So to be fair, he has taken that into consideration when he's looked at these things.
So he's calculating that the group of 5 are losing time on a climb to Pogačar and then getting it back on the bits of flat in between. Okay, all right, that's fine then. I'm glad he's looked at that bit. But then the most important thing is that it's not in the interests of every rider in that 5-rider group to work as hard as each other.
Yeah, and that is a fair point. And this is something that this is not taking into consideration.
Humans.
Which is, an area of maths that does look at that, one of my favourite areas of maths, is game theory.
Right, okay.
You know? And that is, you could further refine this by looking at game theory. And you're absolutely right. There's this thing of, say Pidcock, he's thinking, I don't want to go super hard because I might want to attack, or someone might attack me if I pull a really hard turn, then my chances are over. You might have someone who's just happy to be in that selection and happy to get a podium and isn't bothered. Or you might have one of Pogačar's teammates who's just going to sit on and not pull and disrupt it. So there's all sorts of other permutations that can happen.
The golden rule of bike racing is that you have to be prepared to lose to win. And that's what fundamentally undoes so many chase groups, is because there's enough people in there that are willing to lose before they win.
Yeah. The one thing, though, with game theory, though, is that if the players of the game become more aware of the game in which they're playing and the game theory permutations and how it is they can win, they can change the way in which they play. And at the moment, I think a lot of the riders who are chasing Pogačar aren't aware of how to beat him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they become aware, if this becomes more common knowledge of, it's actually possible. And with maths, you can see, oh my God, it is actually possible if we just do this when we can catch him. Then maybe it changes.
Well, yeah, I actually think you're right, because I do think there's an element of confidence, perhaps. And it's very easy, I would imagine, to see Pogačar disappear, sat in the saddle, just to really mess with your mind and go, there goes Pogačar again, not a chance. So we're racing for second. So I think we saw it in Strada Bianca a couple of years ago when he attacked with whatever it was, 80, 100k a go. Admittedly, it was a super savage section. You can see on Strava that he actually absolutely blitzed it. But I still think in the back of everyone's minds was, this is just mental. I can't do what he's about to do. When in actual fact, they didn't lose that much more time to him. He'd already mentally broken them, hadn't he? So potentially you're right in that if you look at the maths and you see that, maybe it is possible, just like we saw at Amstel actually in real life. But then what is interesting is that I think Pogačar has sort of helped to rewrite the rule book on what is possible. Pogačar's done it along with aerodynamics and nutrition. And so he's racing in a way that people didn't race for decades, really.
Yeah.
And then now I think it is taking people longer to catch up a little bit. He's playing baseball, isn't he?
I mean, a lot of the viewers won't know what that is. I'm a Yorkshireman, so of course I know what it is. But
so I don't know what it is, except for the fact that a friend of mine who is a DS is also obsessed with cricket and was talking about basically baseball, and it can apply to cricket, but also to other situations as well. And if you race super aggressively, actually you can rewrite tactics.
Yeah.
And maths hasn't caught up, mate.
I think you're right, but I'd love to see what the viewers think. And could we see teams forming some kind of coalition? Could the other teams form some sort of WhatsApp group and then start coming up with a plan to my enemy's enemy is my friend sort of thing and take him on?
It was funny, isn't it? Because he has, he's won everything this year, but he's also not won everything because he got beaten at Amstel. Skelmo's played it perfectly, right? Because Remco was the guy that committed probably more because he was the one who fancied his chances. And then he ended up coming third. And so suddenly everyone's like, whoa, well, if it can happen to Remco, it can happen to me. Do you know what I mean? It's just, the tactics. Maths can't beat tactics.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments. Time now for hot tech. And, well, I think all the maths could be about to go out the window because Met have announced two very useful things for Tadej Pogačar today. The first one is called the Tube. Right? And it's a purpose-built cycling wind tunnel that Met have, and it's designed to improve helmet aerodynamics, but also look at rider positions. It can go up to 100 kilometres an hour, this tunnel.
That's even faster than Pogačar, isn't it?
It is, and do 30 degrees of yaw as well. It can also replicate like rider body heat. So for better like thermal management, which is particularly important when you're designing helmets, I guess, and doing sort of cooling tests. But the sort of Met riders, so basically Team UAE Emirates, can use this tunnel to optimise their positions and setup. Not that Pogačar needs it, but
Alex Payton can use it as well.
Yeah.
He's been out there. We have a video for you actually coming up in just under 2 weeks where he's had a good look at their new wind tunnel and a bit of a play around in it.
And he also got to see their new helmet, which has just launched. So they've got an updated version of the Met Drone TT helmet. It's called the Met Drone 2.
Nice.
So the Met Drone helmet is currently the TT helmet that Pogačar uses. A lot of other riders use it as well, but ones that aren't sponsored by it, but they take the logo off. I don't know if you've spotted. And, you know, I used it as well. It was one of the things that really helped me, you know, achieve my fastest time trial times I've done.
Well, so this one's even faster, isn't it? It's bigger, right? So it's following that trend of bigger helmets.
Helps the airflow over your shoulders.
That's right.
Is the thinking.
And they say, 13 and a half seconds faster over a 40k time trial.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, that's not to be sniffed at.
That's a lot, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's super cool, isn't it? Right. Also light as well, I notice.
Yeah, just 430 grams. Yeah, that is pretty light, isn't it?
There you go.
A big helmet.
Next up, Professor Michael's going to need to rewrite his maths, isn't he?
Throws the equations all out the window.
Next up, we've got some new wheels from Hunt, haven't we? So new aerodynamicist wheels. Now, they're making some pretty bold claims about this range, aren't they? Saying that they are the fastest and considerably lighter.
I'm going to say fair play to them, though, that they are naming names. I like it when brands do that.
Yeah?
They're putting themselves out there.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I suppose the trouble is you don't know how they're testing things compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, everyone seems to claim that they're the fastest.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Which is not to doubt Hunt, but it's just to say that it's quite a murky world.
Yeah, it is.
Aerodynamic claims. But you can't argue with weighing scales. And so they're saying that these ones are consistently about 150 grams lighter than the next best competition. So they've got 3 depths, haven't they? So what we got, 54, 58 combo, 44, 46 combo, and a 34, 34 combo.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that they're going for slightly wider, slightly deeper on all the rear wheels. It's quite...
Envy style.
Yeah, envy style.
But also narrow. So just 22 mil internally. They say they're optimised for 28 to 30 mil wide tyres. But yeah, considerably narrower than most of their direct competition.
Yeah, hooked enduro bearings is the thing you need to know. And starting at, in the UK, £1,149. Don't have euro or dollar pricing. But that is, pretty competitive for carbon wheels.
It is, isn't it? What I'm intrigued with is how they've managed to get them so light.
Yeah.
Because obviously, because they're hooked, which typically is a little bit heavier. And yet to save that amount of weight, it'd just be interesting, wouldn't it, to know what they've done?
Yeah.
Because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I couldn't find information on that, but that is, it would be good to know.
Wouldn't it? Right then, next up, a new Winspace bike.
Yeah, so this is a new aero bike from Winspace. It looks amazing, I think. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called the T1600, which sort of sounds a bit like a Terminator.
It's a name that they arrived on using maths.
Yeah, was it?
No, but it sounds like it, doesn't it?
Well, its standout feature is that it's got these sort of D-shaped vents on the seat tube, which reminds me a little bit of the Trek Madon with its vent thing.
Yeah. Aero hole.
Yes, an aero hole.
Sorry.
Yeah, got me that one. It's not available in the whole world yet, but apparently it's available in China. So there you go.
Nice.
But it's it's apparently the frame weighs 900 grams, so it's quite heavy for a frame, but it's an aero frame, and apparently it has reinforcement from Kevlar in it as well, around like the head tube and stuff. I wonder if that extends onto the top tube, because that'd be quite a welcome feature for me if it did, to reinforce the area to stop bar strikes. And
absolutely,
I think,
yeah.
There has been a trend to make bikes as light as possible, but I think there's a bit of practicality that can be improved.
Well, that's what Canyon said, didn't they, when they made the new air road, was that they wanted to basically make it strong enough to withstand crashes in the peloton, and therefore it isn't as light as it theoretically could be, because for precisely that they wanted to toughen it up.
It did pretty well at Roubaix, didn't it?
So. It did pretty well at Roubaix.
Yeah.
Now, a little segue, mate, but in the GCN show this week, we were talking about a graph that we'd found of Shimano's sales over the past, I think it was like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And they've split it out. So they had total sales revenue, but then they also had where those sales were. And what's been really interesting is that post-pandemic, the amount of sales to China has more than doubled. Now, what we don't know is whether or not that is to go on OEM stuff, so brands like Winspace buying truckloads of Shimano and then exporting it out, because Taiwan, on the graph, is fairly chunky, far more so than the population. But nevertheless, it is massively striking.
Really?
The amount of development, really, really interesting.
Wow.
Well, so it's either... So inflation is a big part of the fact that the graph keeps going up. So even after the pandemic bubble, plus prices have gone up. So that you'd think would keep sales elevated. But then, is it a case of Chinese brands are selling more worldwide, or is it the development of cycling in China that's making actually that market a huge new consumer of Shimano goods? It's interesting, really interesting.
It is. Well, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cycling becoming more popular throughout the world. We are the global cycling network.
I tell you what, mate, there's a few epic climbs for you to go and ride up out there.
I bet there are. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, one of yes. I won't segue into that particular anecdote on this time. But anyway, let's keep
that's good.
on.
I like that size anecdote of the week.
Do you want it? I mean, it's a race I've moaned about many times before, but the Tour of Qinghai Lake, where we were racing up, I think it was 4,500 metres of altitude, and I was riding along at the back of the bunch, like dangling on the back, just like basically trying to breathe oxygen, and there was nothing. And it was just riding along at like 30k an hour on the flat, maxed out, and everyone was maxed out because there was just nothing there. It was a savage race.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, sorry. Well, dark times.
Yeah, we'll go back there at some point maybe. If China cycling is booming.
I've got PTSD, mate. I can't go back.
Right. Speaking of Canyon, though, they showed us this concept bike this week.
They did,
which looks absolutely amazing. So it's a future concept from their innovation lab, and it's exploring ideas for sustainability and e-mobility. And so, well, the first thing is the frame itself as a sort of design exercise. It is made from recycled aluminium. Pretty cool. And it can also be sort of customized with racks and stuff. The wheels are 3D printed prototypes at the moment, but they reckon that like the production versions could have hubcap style discs on there instead of traditional spokes, so you can sort of make it look, there's like a sort of aesthetic thing I think going on there. It's like
absolutely
cool,
make it your own, customize it to the max, one size fits all. And also they're saying that they would make it in theory in Europe to make it more sustainable, reduce transport costs, because I guess Europe being the biggest market. Yeah,
but it's designed to just be an urban bike. So it's the geometry of it. You know, you got like higher handlebars, that sort of thing. It's got the option to have batteries and motors fitted into it within the design. But yeah, I think it's really cool.
I think it's cool. Yeah. Canyon have done some mega concept bikes over the years.
They have. They're really cool. I remember like the old Speedmax one was incredible. I remember seeing that years ago, and yeah, that looked amazing. But really keen to see what you guys think of that as a concept bike. Would you ride that down to the shops in your local town?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
All right. Are we going to talk about the new Subaru airbag?
We can do. Well, you had it on the GCN show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's one of those slightly apocalyptic, really dark things, but also something to be celebrated, perhaps. Basically, a new Subaru being sold only in Japan will be fitted with an airbag that deploys when it hits a pedestrian or a cyclist. But this new airbag is slightly different to previous pedestrian airbags because it extends up the pillars of the car, which are particularly lethal.
Yeah, hard points for cyclists.
Yeah, so the idea being that if you get hit by this new Subaru, your head would get a nice cushioned landing at the top of the bonnet. Now, we joke, but actually you would probably rather get run over by that than a BMW, for example, which are notoriously hard cars in terms of their pillars and their roofs.
Or an old Volvo.
Yeah, or an old Volvo. I once got hit by a car. The only time I've ever been hit by a car. Actually, I hit it, if I'm completely honest. And when the police came around later that night with my bits of bike, they said I was lucky that I'd hit a French car because the roof caved in and saved my life. And they said, literally, if you've been hit by a BMW, mate, so there you go.
Lights out.
Yeah.
The crazy thing with this, though, is the mixed response that this has got from sort of anti-cycling drivers.
Yeah, this is weird, isn't it?
This is like, gets pretty, some of the comments. So, a lot of drivers commenting on Subaru's, social media and things going like, cyclists should foot the bill for this. There's a lot of hate for cyclists, like people saying, you bloody cyclists I'm not paying for this. The cyclist should pay for this on my car. But I think these people forget that cars have continually become safer and safer and safer over the years, right? And when cars were first introduced, many years, like 100 years ago, whatever it was, brake lights weren't mandatory safety equipment, and they're not really for you in your car. They're more for the other people outside of your car. But airbags, crumple zones, all manner of safety, seat belts, all manner of safety innovations were not compulsory. I think for something like this becoming compulsory, it's just progress. It's just like
it is. But what's also weird is when you think about how much more dangerous modern cars are to pedestrians and cyclists because of the increased size, particularly talking SUVs. Statistically, SUVs are far more likely to seriously injure or kill pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah.
And yet, no one bats an eyelid about going to buying a new car, even though you're more likely to kill someone with it. Which is pretty nuts, isn't it?
But also, it's like, you don't want to act like I'm not saying you're going to deliberately try and run someone over, but if you have an accident, it's called an accident, right? And you accidentally hit someone or they accidentally hit you, I'd much rather be driving something that I think is going to protect me and them than like something that's like, surely that's like something that you would want. I don't know.
I mean, you would think you would want it, wouldn't you?
If it boils down to I killed someone, or I gave them like life-changing injuries, or I hit them, the airbag deployed, and they were all right. Which one would you rather? Like, what would you rather have?
It's bonkers, isn't it?
It's mad, yeah.
Which does make this whole story really quite dark.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it does. Yeah.
Be interested to know your thoughts on this one as well. To be fair.
Yeah. Right. Comments of the week now.
Excellent.
So first up is this comment under last week's show from FML22, who says, as someone more interested in touring than racing, I'd love a weekly Conor's Gubbins segment. Well, here it is.
Careful what you wish for.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Gubbins of the Week. That's right, I'm going to try and make this a weekly occurrence. And piece of tech that I've spotted this week is a theft-resistant bike light. Now, this looks proper cool. Totally robust, totally kind of unstealable. You need a security screwdriver to kind of secure it, and then supposedly the inventors claim that you can't steal it. It's really hard to get off. Super durable, got a battery life of about 100 hours, and bright enough to obviously light the way. I think it's a really cool idea. I noticed it on Kickstarter. It's already met its kind of funding goal. And the tech and the stuff and the gubbins you put on your bike can be pricey. And if you're leaving your bike outside a cafe, locking it up, you don't want people just to go away and just take it off, do you? So great idea, great piece of gubbins. Stay tuned. I'll be back with more next week.
Also known as how to make cycling harder. Just carry pointless stuff around with you.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you're into,
Yeah, basically. Right then, this one, another one from under the show. I just don't care anymore. Said the best beginner bike is whatever inspires you to get out and ride, no matter how cheap or expensive, gravel, road or mountain bike.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't argue with that really. That is absolutely true. Well, it is true and it's also not true, isn't it? Because actually, you could argue that what a bike might inspire you to go out and ride, but absolutely cripple you and be really uncomfortable. And then you might end up putting it in the shed a little bit more than otherwise you would do. But I know what you mean. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Just get out and ride.
Just get out and ride. Yeah, 100%.
There's a comment here under the Vision Wheels factory tour from Stuart Clark, 1982, who says, GCN does a How It's Made series. Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Glad you enjoyed it. I was really tired when I made that video.
It doesn't show, mate, and it was super interesting. So, properly good. Then underneath the maintenance video, Chris IV2UD said, almost all bike shop owners told me the same things. If you wash your bike less, you will not have to visit them that often. Just a wet cloth and wipe them up. Lube or wax your chain regularly. That's it. Unless you ride in the rain or it's a winter bike. That's a different story. I was going to say, I was reading that going, I don't think Chris lives in the UK.
No,
but it's absolutely right. If you live in a dry part of the world, then why would you wash your bike?
Yeah, but I do, and that's the important caveat with like washing and cleaning your bike is you've got to make sure you wash it and clean it, but then you kind of like dry it and lube it afterwards. Otherwise, it just goes rusty.
Yeah.
If it stays wet.
That's it. Sticking your bike in a cold garage through the winter. Not very good for it, is it?
Yeah. Right. Time now for the Bike Vault, where you submit pictures of your bikes and then you can do so using the link to the uploader, which is in the description below. And then we'll judge them to be either nice or super nice.
Okay.
Si, I'm going to give you the honours.
Oh, thank you very much.
Right. So first up this week, we have got a bike which might look familiar to you.
It does look very familiar. What a lovely bike.
So this is the Pinarello Grievel of Alex Payton, who rode this bike in Dirty Reaver at the weekend.
Yeah, you can watch how he got on actually on GCN at the weekend.
Yeah.
I've got to say, mate, I saw this bike in our workshop downstairs and I thought that is... Well, I was about to use the word super nice, but that would give the game away. I thought that was a super sexy bike. And it is mega, isn't it? And Alex has done an admirable job of ticking all the boxes with valves
it
whatnot.
looks really smart. I like his really neat sort of like racing bag setup on the back. It's in full race mode. And what I also kind of like, actually, I mean, normally we'd say they have to be clean, but there's something cool about a gravel bike or mountain bike that's got the race dirt on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the Dirty Reaver dust.
Yeah, it is. Tom Pidcock asked his mechanic to spray his Olympic-winning mountain bike with hairspray the moment he crossed the finish line in order to preserve the dust in place.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it?
That is really cool.
Yeah, right, I mean, undoubtedly, that is a super nice.
I think it is, yeah.
And no one say we're being biased. Yeah. Just look at it again.
Yeah.
It's a super nice.
Yeah.
There we go. Right.
Peter F. is next with a Cipollini All-Road. It's got Campagnolo chorus on it.
Nice.
Vision Metron wheels.
Very nice.
Don't know if I mentioned it, I've been to the factory where they...
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's a video, you can check it out. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Right, well, I mean, I think Peter, again, has ticked all the boxes of, like, valves and tyres and all that doodah. It's pretty nice. I could buy that, mate.
I think, I mean, his cassette's a little bit dirty, but...
Oh, wow.
He's aligned the tyres. Yeah, I think...
You've just said Alex's bike is covered in dust, which is really cool, but this poor chap, his cassette is a little bit dirty.
Yeah, but it's kind of... It's you've got to go all in on either or, haven't you? You've got to be either fully dirt or fully clean. I'm not into this halfway house.
All right,
but I think that's a super nice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Super nice.
Who's next?
There you go. So I was just looking at that yellow sticker, thinking, wouldn't it be cool if you had yellow tyre decals like those Pirellis that we've got.
Yeah,
that would look cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Really pop. Anyway, something for the future, Peter. Julian has sent this one in, his Villia aero bike. I took the picture between some blooming cherry trees. Anyway, yeah, Villia Cento 1 Air. Well, it's not Cento 1, is it? But anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I bought it in 2018. Besides the aero shape, I especially like the sophisticated paint job of the frame. Something you don't see on modern bikes, unfortunately.
I quite like that cherry blossom. It's nice, that, isn't it?
Very cool. I mean, it's a really tricked out looking bike, isn't it?
It's an interesting, weird. He's got the one bottle on the seat tube.
Epic one by.
That is a massive cassette on the back.
What is it? Is it a mountain bike?
It looks like.
Oh no,
it,
it's SRAM Force.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he's got a 42 cassette on the back.
There's some really interesting stuff going on.
I think this is super cool. There's a lot of thought and effort gone into that.
Well, he's sort of colour matched the lightweight logos with the red on the frame to make it all tie in, which is I quite like that he's done that. So that's and the Metron chain set ties in with the red and black and white on the frame. So it's all coordinated.
Very cool. And just 7.1 kilos.
Really?
For a full aero bike.
Well, it's because it's got those lightweight fern vegs on there.
Well, and rim brakes.
Oh, yeah.
And rim brakes, yeah. But it reminds me a little bit of Daniel Lloyd's old Cervelo race bike that I rode and couldn't believe that it was 6.8 kilos.
Yeah, I remember that,
That it was like 15 years old.
It's a bit of a jaunty angle, but I think I can let it slide.
Yeah? I just think that's a bit of a triumph there on.
Super nice.
Yeah, super nice. Well done, Julian, for that one.
Brakes madly next. I don't know if this is actually their bike. Oh, it is their bike, I think.
Ollie's Lollies.
Oh, that, yeah.
Nice. Well, that's super nice, isn't it?
No. I mean, it's that front wheel just angled in.
Well, they have said, sadly, I couldn't stop the front wheel turning due to the precarious lean angle against the sign.
I know.
And I had to stand in the road to take the photo.
Oh, no, we can't condone that.
Bonus points if you can identify the location.
The location?
Hold on.
Is that that's an electric, solar-powered...
Ollie's Lolly.
Ice cream van.
Location.
The location.
I'm going to say Chew Valley Lake.
You reckon?
Well, I mean, that's the best I've got. For about 4 of you watching this, you might know where that is.
It could be that.
Anyway, I think it's very cool. But yeah, like you say, you can't give it a super nice...
No. Not when serious, health and safety has been disregarded to take the photo. We can't condone that kind of behaviour.
No, not at all. But I love the fact that Ollie's got a side hustle in ice cream vans.
Yeah.
There's no apostrophe? I would have thought, Ollie, if you were to have an ice cream van, you would...
have remembered the apostrophe.
Yeah, that's a bit of a disgrace.
Also, I don't tend to spell it with a Y as well.
No, good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, at least we know that this one isn't yours.
Yeah.
Right, but that's only a nice.
Yeah. And next up, we've got our final one for this week.
Okay.
Where I think someone has misunderstood the name box section when they filled in the bike box uploader, because their name is Paragon Industry 3 P3 Lampo Aero.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know what goes through people's parents' minds.
Yeah, could be one of Elon Musk's children. So here we go. What do you make of that?
Small brand in Sydney, the P3 Lampo Aero with Shimano 105 DR2, Alu Gear Aero chainrings, Caden disc rotors, Paragon Industry 3 Imola Onda TRD tubeless ready disc wheels.
This is, there's a lot of tricked out bits on this.
A lot of tricked out. I do love that chainring, I'm not going to lie.
That chainring looks really smart. It's really... kind of clean and aero with the little...
And it totally makes that 105 chainset look $1 million. I think that's cool, isn't it? Yeah. Pimp My 105, that could be called.
Yeah.
That's absolutely sick.
I'm into that. And I like, the little P0 RS tyres look smart as well.
They do look good, don't they?
Oh, that's a
fast
super
pair of
nice,
tyres.
that one. That's a super nice from Paragon.
Yeah, all right. Well
Hopefully
done.
that makes up for all the years of being bullied at school for having such a weird name.
Quality. All right, cool.
Right, well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week. But hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Love you, bye.